Hey YouTube, Dustin Ryder here. Welcome to my review for Gozyuger episode 21. So, I have some mixed feelings about this episode. I thought there was some cool stuff done, and I feel like a lot of my feelings are going to become more clear, I guess, once this arc finishes. Well, I don't know how long it's going to go, whether it's meant to be like a multi-part arc or we're setting up things longer term, because we're touching on this story with Sumino's sister, how it ties into Rikyu, and I'm just not sure how long it's supposed to go, because like I thought it was honestly going to be a two-parter where we were going to wrap this up for now, but it doesn't seem like that. So like initially going in, I was thinking, okay, we're going to follow up on last week, and then we kind of wrap things up rather quickly with like, okay, Fire Candle left, and now it's like a little while later, a couple days later, I think, something like that. And then they're like, let's do this filler episode about summer festivals. I'm like, what is going on? Like, part of me liked what they were going for once I realized that they weren't going to try to wrap everything up today, which was this idea of them trying to cheer her up by bringing her a summer festival. But it still felt weird, and I think my problem with it is this introduced like just such cool momentum. Like we could be having a really cool, more serialized multi-part arc about her sister, about how Blue is involved, and instead now we're doing a summer festival thing, which I'm sure some of this is probably more cultural because we don't really have a summer festival here. I mean, we just had the 4th, and we just have summer, I guess. So, like, I don't know, maybe they have to do a required summer festival episode. But it had me wishing that, again, we were just doing a more serialized arc, and it kind of bothers me because there's some series like that, honestly, most notably more in PR, where I'm like, can we just separate the filler from the plot? And so, even if Gozyuger was one of those series that's mostly filler and you just do a few plots, that'd be fine. But I like it when we would do plot, let's just do plot. Like, I was a little disappointed, because I'm like, we got some really interesting stuff going on here, and we have our typical Gozyuger nonsense with the summer festival stuff and the overacting and the wackiness, which I wouldn't mind more self-contained. Again, I get they were going for him trying to cheer her up, but it just felt like any momentum we had was lost. But once I realized, like I said, that this was meant to go on a little bit longer, I did kind of like part of it, like when she actually did come around and it helped cheer her up, and it showed me we wouldn't be wrapping this up too quickly. Although I do question if Fire Candle still has the Shinken Red Ring. And there was also some interesting stuff about when Kimono said, oh, like the ring chooses you or whatever, which honestly I'm sure has happened before, but I didn't think about that at all. I don't know why I've only been thinking about the main rings choosing people. Like, I know this isn't true, but it's just in my head. I kept thinking anybody can pick up the Sentai ring, and that's kind of what I assumed with what happened with Shinken Reds. So I kind of forgot about, like, thinking about them as main rings in the game. But there was some cool stuff in this. You know, like I said, seeing such a different body language come out of the Shinken Red suit was really cool, because as I mentioned, like the two primary ones I think of are, of course, Takaru, and then Gokaidru, you have Marvelous, who has a very similar body language, and then Karu doesn't have exactly a wacky bottom language, oh my god, body language or anything like that. So it was like really cool to see, and there was a cool moment where he uses the rescue bird, and it was cool to see the live action Shinkano suit again, because like I said in a couple of videos, it's nice that we actually have the physical suits there, even though I'm not an anti-CGI person whatsoever. It's not the greatest looking in Toku, and it's just really cool to actually see that. It makes it feel more tangible and neat to see them right alongside the modern mecha. And it was a little bit too quick and weird, where it's like, oh, it shouldn't be showing up, and it's on my side, and I don't know how to control it, and like, oh no, now it's on our side. I kind of wish we would have had Fire Candle sitting there with the powers for a while, and then having Shinkano at his disposal for a couple episodes, and then when the sister comes back, she can get it back, and then they can fight on their side. But I guess that depends on where the story is going. But there was cool anniversary moments there with the Shinken Red suit and the Shinkano that takes me back. And, you know, like I said, the rescue bird with Shinken Red firing that off is a cool little beat there. And I like some of what they were going for with Sumino being cheered up by it, and also the building mystery with Blue and him flashing back to one of his first performances and somebody named Ray, who I'm going to assume is his brother or something. And I'm going to now assume that maybe like the gray eyes or whatever run in his family. Red eyes, red eyes, red eyes. Gray eyes, gray eyes, gray eyes. I don't know why I just randomly thought of Mystery Men, but here we are. Junket! That's what I said about this episode. No, I'm just kidding. It wasn't that bad. Anyway, I got distracted from myself. Point is, we did get a scene early on where we saw a mysterious hooded figure with gray eyes take the sister's body, and it has the gray eyes. And then we have the flashback with the brother. So I'm going to assume maybe that it wasn't Blue that took her before, and it was his brother, but he somehow knows what's going on. And I like that mystery. And it's funny because in the early parts of the episode, my thoughts were all over the place. I was like, why are we doing this dumb filler when we're in the middle of a cool arc? And then now we're getting flashbacks for him, and I'm like, this could be its own thing. I feel like this could be 3 different episodes. And it just had me wishing that instead of doing this filler stuff, we would have just saved it and then had a multi-part story that involved the story about the sister and Blue, and it would have been really cool to have this story arc that would have done some character storyline as well as some of the plot mysteries they've introduced, which would have been nice. But I guess ultimately with this, I guess I have to reserve my full judgment until I see how the story plays out, because since this didn't wrap up within this episode like I thought it might, I just don't know. But this episode was just okay for me. It was just kind of that classic Gozyuger stuff where I just feel there's so much more potential there. And the silliness, it's not for me, but I wouldn't mind it so much if it wasn't feeling like it was getting in the way of the actual story that I want to see. Like if this was separate and we did a 2-3 part story where they were like locked in on the story and character stuff, and then we did this silly fun festival stuff, that'd be fine. But it feels almost like they smashed a script for a festival episode in the middle of this storyline. And I think there was just other ways to go about it. It wasn't awful, just wasn't entirely my thing. But next week looks pretty interesting, so we'll have to see. Let me know what you thought of the episode in the comments as always. Until next time, Dawson Ryder, signing out.